frequency, this is how I go down the stairs. And this is how the dog goes down the stairs. So I decided we needed a stair runner. A vintage rug would have been cool, but unfortunately those don't fall from the sky quite as frequently as the internet seems to think. So I pulled the next best thing, IKEA. These low-hung jute rugs are cheap and they're fine. Actually, for jute rugs, I think they're a little ugly. The rug in my living room has a much nicer color palette, so I guess they're just cheap. But I don't feel bad about butchering them, and that's what really matters. And the first rug, I do indeed butcher. That's the thing about DIY. It's not necessarily that the idea is bad, it's that it takes a bit of experimentation to make it good. And experimentation costs money, and soon you're better off just purchasing the thing that was too expensive to buy in the first place. So then you make a YouTube channel to justify all the extra money to test the DIYs and hope that someone else will benefit. Hello, welcome to my channel. So in addition to the full-size runner, I also purchased a mini version to test on. To start, I wanted to know if I could dye the rug instead of paint it because paint is crispy and I didn't really want to go that route unless I had to. And the answer was sort of. You can sort of dye it. The dye doesn't really soak into the jute very well, but it does color it, which is basically the same, right? The color isn't anything like what's advertised on the bottle, which in retrospect makes sense, since I'm not watering it down at all, and I'm using it on something that is decidedly not white. But I'm still a little disappointed at the lack of brightness. Like, I was dreaming of bright pink and orange and green, and I'm basically getting purple, red, and forest. But I'll deal, and it's still better than painting. I also messed around with different stencils. I made a bunch with the Glowforge at my school, which was a whole process on its own, and I will not get into it because it was a giant pain and you should just buy a stencil on Etsy. I've linked the ones that inspired me in the description below. FYI, intricate stencils are not the way to go here, and the simpler the stencil, the better it's going to look. I tried a vine stencil and a variety of flower stencils, and ended up going with the vine one because the flowers seemed, I don't know, kind of summery, like too immature for the stairway of my house. And then I painted and painted and painted forever. It took about an hour per row, although it got faster once I realized I didn't have to be super careful about putting on too much dye, because the dye doesn't really soak in. You really don't have to worry about it spreading everywhere, which surprised me. I was all prepared to barely have any dye on the brush, and I didn't have to think about that at all. In fact, the more you overload the brush, the easier it is to just glob it on and spread it around. I have the best techniques, y'all. Then I went and prepped for installation. An efficient person would tell you they did the prep work while the rug finished drying, but I'm an honest person, and I will tell you that I did the prep work a week later when I finally got around to installing the thing. First, I pulled off the shoe molding. Someday I'll have to deal with the paint that ripped off with it, but that is a problem for future me. Then I measured things and marked where I expected the rug to fall with painter's tape. Finally, carpet padding. I had all sorts of questions about this stuff. Should it be thin, thick, normal carpet pad, special tread? I didn't know, and the internet was not overly helpful, so I just bought normal carpet padding, cut it down, and stuck it in place with carpet tape. It seems fine, and it's super duper cushy, so... That said, I did have to nix my initial plan of doing a bullnose style, where the rug is secured underneath the lip of the stair as well as at the bottom. Between the carpet padding and the thickness of the rug, it was just too thick to really make that work. But it's fine, because it made the installation easier, and I am all about making the installation easier. I borrowed a pneumatic stapler from my local tool library, and that is the correct tool for the job. But I couldn't get it to work, and I'm not really sure if it was me, the tool, or the air compressor. The me of 5 years ago might have messed around with it a bit to try and make it work, but the post-thumb accident version of me had visions of shooting a staple into my eye, so I moved on. I primarily used my electric brad gun, which is not the right tool, and an electric staple gun, which is also not the right tool. The brad gun was easy to use, but the nails slide through the rug and don't hold it long term. I'd say about 50% of them did a decent job short term, so it was helpful, because then I followed it up with the staple gun, which was a little too big to be able to arrange properly. It was nice not to have to worry about the rug being placed right and just worry about getting the staple in. It went fast. I had all 6 steps done in less than 2 hours, which was a win. The thing is though, I'm not sure how long this will hold up. As I worked, a bunch of dye accumulated under my nails, and I'm not sure if it's like dog hair, where a ton comes off, but there's still plenty on the dog, or if this thing is going to be faded and weird in a year. In 6 months or so, I'll pin a comment below and let you know how it's going. I finished it off by just cutting down the rug at the right length. I had grand visions of tying the ends to keep it from unraveling, but after it was cut, reality kicked in, and I realized it would be easier to just slap some Mod Podge on and call it good. Between that and the shoe molding I put over it, I don't think it'll unravel. Which is good, because I happen to like it. I no longer fall down the stairs. The dog can calmly walk down the stairs. The elderly cat never seemed to have any problems, but cats never let you know these things, so maybe it's easier on her too. Win-win-win.